McNair, who wasn't here last year for the birthday ball.
But we saved them from last year.
Oh, what's you got? Only 4? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Give me a knife and I'll share them with everybody. This last year they sent me a picture of my favorite hors d'oeuvre. Right, Bob? It was good, too. You settled? Help us out.
141st birthday of our beloved Marine Corps. Members of the Marine Corps League joined together in camaraderie and fellowship for the purpose of preserving the traditions and promoting the interests of the United States Marine Corps, banding together those who have been honorably discharged from the service that effectively promote the ideals of the American freedom and democracy, voluntarily aiding and rendering assistance to all Marines and former Marines, and to their widows and orphans, and to perpetuate the history of the United States Marine Corps, and by fitting acts to observe the anniversaries of historical occasions of particular interest to Marines. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as members of the Three Rivers Young Marine advance and post the colors. Sergeant of Arms, advance and post the colors.
Aye, sir. Young Marine.
Face.
Sergeant of Arms, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Aye, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sergeant at Arms, post the colors.
Young Marines, post colors.
At this time, the young Marines will head to their table. band will now play the Marine Corps hymn, followed by the Navy hymn, and then the Coast Guard hymn. Associate Marine Peters will now read Marine Corps Order number 47.
On November 10th, 1775, a Corps of Marines was created by a resolution of Continental Congress. Since that day, many thousand men have borne the name Marine. In memory of them, it is fitting that we, who are Marines, should commemorate the birthday of our Corps by calling to mind the glories of its long and illustrious history. The record of our Corps is one which will bear comparison with that of the most famous military organizations in the world's history. During 90 of the 146 years of its existence, the Marine Corps has been in action against the nation's foes. From the Battle of Trenton to the Argonne, Marines have won foremost honors in war. And in the long eras of tranquility at home, generation of Marines have grown gray in war, in both hemispheres and in every corner of the seven seas, that our country and its citizens might enjoy peace and security. In every battle and skirmish since the birth of our Corps, Marines have acquitted themselves with the greatest distinction, winning new honors on each occasion, until the term Marine has come to signify all that is highest in military efficiency and soldierly virtue. This high name of distinction and soldierly repute, we who are Marines today have received from those who preceded us in the Corps. With it, we have also received from them the eternal spirit which has animated our Corps from generation to generation, and has been the distinguishing mark of the Marines in every age. So long as that spirit continues to flourish, Marines will be found equal to every emergency in the future, as they have been in the past, and the men of our nation will regard us as worthy successors to the long line of illustrious men who have served as soldiers of the sea since the founding of the Corps. John A. Lejeune, Major General, Commandant.
Thank you. Marine McMahon will now read the Commandant of the Marine Corps birthday message.
Good evening. A message from the Commandant of the Marine Corps. Each year, on or around 10 November, Marines gather in groups large and small to celebrate our history, honor the memory of those who have gone before us, and rekindle the bond that unites all generations of Marines. This year, we mark the 241st anniversary of our Corps. 241 years of uncommon valor, innovation, and combat excellence. Marines, we are part of something bigger than any of us could imagine. Whether you fought in the battles of World War I, in the Pacific during World War II, in Korea or Vietnam, Desert Shield or Desert Storm, or in the streets of Iraq or in Afghanistan, you are just starting out on your Marine Corps journey. We are all part of an elite family of warriors. For the rest of your life, the first term people use to describe you will be Marine. When the Continental Congress stood up 2 battalions of Marines in 1775, a culture of discipline, vigilance, professionalism, and military excellence was born that has characterized our Corps for nearly 2.5 centuries. As Marines, we have a profound respect for our traditions and heritage and for taking care of each other. We know we're strongest when we're together as a team. Wherever you are celebrating our Corps' birthday this year, look around at the Marines beside you and remember the bonds forged in training, in garrison, and in combat. Take this time to reconnect. We are Marines for life. It is our responsibility, our duty, to maintain and build upon the legacy of those who have gone before us. What we do today, guided by what we've learned from past generations, will determine the future of the Corps. So as we celebrate this 241st anniversary of our Corps, we also look ahead and prepare for our next success. Take pride in carrying our legacy forward. Happy birthday, Marines. Semper Fidelis, Robert B. Neller, General, United States Marine Corps, Commandant of the Marine Corps.
Marine Montminy now will read the message from our National Commandant of the Marine Corps League.
Good evening and welcome. Marines, it is time for us to once again reflect upon our past and look into the future of America's 9/11 fighting force. We should remember those Marines who preceded this day. For 241 years, the tenacity and courage of Marines who defended the Constitution of our country and the freedoms of our way of life have remained strong and continue to be steadfast in today's world of conflict and strife. We are trained to uphold the values of our Corps, and as we grow older, that training becomes more ingrained and does not weaken. We will forever support our brother and sister warriors because that is what we do. Not only do we honor our veterans, but we pay them the ultimate compliment by remembering them for what they are, United States Marines. As our 241st birthday approaches, we should remember that we are the keepers of our Marine heritage. We will forever retain our love of God, country, and Corps, Semper Fi, and hold our banner on high. Richard D. Gore Sr., National Commandant, Marine Corps League. Happy birthday, Marines.
Thames River Detachment Chaplain Cargill will give the invocation.
As to your religious preference. Supreme Commandant, we sit here tonight as United States Marines, FMF corpsmen, friends, and family, celebrating our 241st birthday. As Marines, we guard the streets of heaven and walk through the valley of the shadow of death, fearing no evil, for thou art with us. As the fiercest fighting force the world has ever known, we stand before you, asking that you bless all that have gone before us, those who serve now, and those who will follow. Bless this celebration, this food, and grant us safe passage on our trip home. Simplify, sir. Amen.
Thank you, Padre. At this time, I would like to introduce our head table. Captain Paul Whitescover, Commanding Officer, Sub-Base, and his wife, Kate. Captain Ronald Lebrecht, Assistant Superintendent, United States Coast Guard Academy. Pat McMahon, Thames River Detachment Commandant and 2016 Marine of the Year, and his wife Laura. Tom Doc Williamson, Silver Star recipient and 5 Purple Hearts, and member of, what was that president's name? Member of President Nixon's medical staff, and his partner, Tom Westbrook. In the audience tonight, I would like to introduce Bob Murphy, Thames River Detachment Recording Adjutant. Jim Reed, Thames River Detachment Publication Officer and 2014 Marine of the Year. Dave Cargill, Chaplain and 2012 Marine of the Year. Tom Taylor, Junior Vice Commandant and also the cake maker. Diana Urban, State Representative from the 43rd District. And Rob Montminy, our Senior Vice Commandant and the Thames River Detachment 2013 Marine of the Year. And last but not least, the Ball Committee, in alphabetical order, not the way they worked. Donna Peters, yours truly, Frank and Nancy Perkins. Thank you for your hard work. Associate Maureen Herson will now read the POW MIA meaning.
I have to admit that this sort of cracks me up whenever I read it. This table here before you is a place of honor. It is set for one. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They're commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us this evening, and so we remember them. The table is set for one, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of the intentions in response to the country's call to arms. The single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith and awaiting their return. The red ribbon tied so prominently on the vase is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn upon the lapel and the breasts of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. The candle and yellow ribbon symbolize the everlasting hope of a reunion with the missing. The slice of lemon on the bread plate reminds us of their bitter fate. There's salt on the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. The glass is inverted, cannot toast with us this night. The chair is empty, he's not here. Remember, all of you who served with them and call them comrades, who depend upon their might and aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember, until the day they come home, remember.
Thank you. Chow will now be served. Enjoy your meal.
Hoorah! No.
Oh, I'm done. I'm done. I'm sorry.
Of himself, but he did not introduce himself as the detachment paymaster. He's the person responsible for all our funds. He has planned many trips for our detachment and for the state. He's taken the lead on the Marine Corps birthday ball with his wife Donna, and he certainly deserves to be recognized with a round of applause.
Must be a round of applause.
Thank you very much. It's appreciated. Don is accepting money on my behalf.
Cash.
Cash only, could be for the Cayman account. At this time, I'd like to get on with the program and introduce our guest speaker. Captain Ronald Lebrecht is the Assistant Superintendent of the Coast Guard Academy. He has held a variety of positions for the Coast Guard. He was a military fellow to the Council on Foreign Relations. He commanded the Coast Guard Recruiting Command, where he led 350 field recruiters and central office staff. He directed the Coast Guard Office of Public Affairs, where he led the public affairs efforts of the BP oil spill response and the Haiti earthquake response effort. He served as Director of Training at Yorktown, Virginia, which prepares 8,000 Coast Guardsmen a year. Captain Lebrecht was the Chief of the National Search and Rescue School, which trains in search planning and management, as well as boat and aircraft crews and search execution. Captain Lebrecht has a bachelor's degree in government from the Academy and a master's degree in public relations from Boston University. He has a Legion of Merit, 5 Meritorious Service Medals, 2 Commendation Medals, and the Coast Guard and Navy Achievement Medals. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Ronald Lebrecht.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me here, or do I have to go like this? Yeah, like this. I gotta go like this. Is this good? I wish to thank the Thames River Detachment for having me here this this evening. I am not Rear Admiral James Rondon, but I am very glad to be here in his stead. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you this evening. And he told me, he said, "Hey Ron," he said, "you were going to have a good time at this event," and he didn't lie. So I really appreciate you having me here today. I have known some wonderful Marines over my career, and I got to tell you, though, my earliest connection with the Marine Corps probably goes back to when I was at the Academy. And I was so pleased to see you had our jazz band here tonight. They love performing for people, and I'm sure they love performing for you tonight. But I remember when I was a cadet and I heard about Douglas Monroe. And some of you may know the story of Douglas Monroe, and I'll just cover it briefly for those that don't. Douglas was our only Coast Guard Medal of Honor award recipient. And so he was a signalman first class in the Coast Guard during World War II. And he was killed at Guadalcanal in 1942. And so the story is there was a detachment of Marines, and they were on a beach, and they were greatly outnumbered and in grave danger. And they needed to be evacuated from the beach. And so Douglas, he volunteered to bring his boat and several other boats and go to the beach to try to evacuate them. And what he did was he put his boat between the machine gun fire and the Marines so that he could cover the Marines as they were getting into the other boats. And so by exposing himself in that way, he was mortally wounded and he passed away. And when I think of Douglas's story, there's several things that come to mind. And the first thing that I think of is about selflessness. And, I think of the selflessness that goes into all of the folks who serve our nation. And, Douglas was only 22 years old when he gave his life for his fellow men in uniform. And so I can't think of a more selfless thing to do. But there are folks that do a lot of selfless things every day around this country, and certainly men and women in uniform who provide selfless service to our nation. The other thing I think about when I think about that story is I think about those Marines on the beach. And I think about their selflessness. And I think about their bravery and their courage. And I got to tell you, as proud as I am to be a Coast Guard member, as proud as I am of their service and the important work that we do, you just simply can't be aware of America's history in wartime and not marvel at the United States Marine Corps. It's as simple as that. From Tripoli to Bella Wood to Iwo Jima to Wade and all the way to Fallujah recently. First to fight. When you think about the Coast Guard and the Marine Corps, we punch above our weight, right? But when the Marine Corps does it, you do it with awe-inspiring courage and devastating effectiveness on our enemies. And so I marvel at that. Whenever I think of Douglas Monroe, I think of the Marines on that beach. So I just came to the Coast Guard Academy in July, and I moved up from Stafford, Virginia. And so Stafford is just south of Quantico. And so Quantico is, they say it is, you tell me if it's true or not, they say it's the crossroads of the United States Marine Corps. And I got to tell you, I was surrounded by Marines in my neighborhood. I had active Marines and retired Marines and former Marines, and I have never felt safer in a neighborhood. And I have never felt safer leaving my family as I went off to serve as I did leaving my family in that neighborhood with all those Marines. And so the last thing that Douglas Monroe makes me think about is the importance of telling these stories, telling the stories of our heroes, and the importance of honoring service and faithfulness as we do tonight here, as you have done faithfully for many, many years at the detachment. And I think it's important because by doing that, we recognize the values, and we teach the values, like to our young Marines here, the values that keep our country strong and that keep it safe. Values such as the Marine Corps core values of honor, courage, and commitment. And so, the Thames River Detachment continues to spread those values, continues to remind us of service and remind us of its importance. And you're doing that long after many of you have stopped service in uniform. You continue to serve, and so I thank you. So I understand that the Coast Guard Academy and the Thames River Detachment have a wonderful relationship. Tom and I were just chatting about it. And so the Marine Corps birthday, November 10th, I don't have to tell you all, but we are going to have a little party at the Coast Guard Academy. We're going to raise colors. We're going to raise the Marine Corps flag. We're going to listen to the Marine Corps hymn, and then we're going to go inside and have one of the naval midshipmen who is a exchange cadet is going to tell us about the Marine Corps. And then we're going to have some food. So you're all invited, 0800. Get there a little early, so you're there for colors. Please come down and help us celebrate the Marine Corps birthday. It certainly won't be as nice as this evening was, but it'll be our little tip of the hat to our brothers in arms in the Marine Corps. So in closing, I just want to thank you for having me here to speak, and I want to thank each and every one of you for the service that you do and the service that you continue to do today. And most importantly, happy birthday, United States Marine Corps.
And now our keynote speaker, Captain Paul Whitescarver became the 51st Commanding Officer of the Naval Subbase in December 2015. The base home to more than 70 tenant commands and 15 attack subs. A native of Roanoke, Virginia, Captain Whitescarver enlisted in the Navy in August 1980, serving 11 years in the enlisted ranks before being selected for the Enlisted Commissioning Program. Graduating from Virginia Tech in 1991 with a Bachelor of Science degree in economics, he then completed his initial officer nuclear power and sub training. He has served on the following subs: USS Minneapolis St. Paul, USS Norfolk, USS Alabama, and has commanded the USS Scranton from 2009 to 2012. Ashore, Captain Whitescarver's assignments have included service on the Joint Staff and Chief of Naval Operations Staff. He is the recipient of the Naval Submarine League Charles Lockwood Award for Submarine Excellence. He is also a graduate of Naval Postgraduate School with a Master of Arts degree in National Security Affairs. Prior to taking command of the subbase, his most recent position was on the staff of Commander Subforces Atlantic in Norfolk as the Operations Officer. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Paul Whitescarver.
So can you hear me out there?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so Captain LeBrecq, distinguished members of the Marine Corps League, Thames River Detachment, and guests of the birthday ball, members, veterans, friends of the Armed Forces, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, the reason why we're here, happy birthday, Marine Corps. So give yourself a good You know, the fact that an old sea salt such as myself has been invited to speak at this Marine Corps Ball reflects our long-standing Naval and Marine Corps Sea Service heritage. And as Ron mentioned in his remarks, you know, our heritage began usually as they do, with an adult beverage in your hand. So ask any Marine, they'll tell you, you guys started with a beer, and I'm going to tell you how you did it. He or she will tell you that the Marine Corps was born in Tun Tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, November 10th, 1775. That I bet the Marines' recollection for the detail was probably a little fuzzy when they were there, but allow a Navy officer to relay the scoop. Tun Tavern traces its roots to the year 1685, when Samuel Carpenter built it as a huge brew house, and it quickly gained a reputation for serving fine beer. So it's no surprise that on November 10, 1775, when the Continental Congress meeting in Philadelphia commissioned Samuel Nicholas to raise 2 battalions of Marines, Nicholas set up shop in Tun Tavern that very day. He appointed Robert Mullen, then proprietor of the tavern, as chief Marine recruiter, serving, of course, from his place of business, Tun Tavern. Prospective recruits flocked to the tavern, lured by the opportunity to serve in the new Corps of the Marines, and of course, to enjoy a cold brew. 241 years later, we gathered together to share an adult beverage or two and to celebrate that long sea service partnership and friendly rivalry between the United States Navy and the United States Marine Corps. So together, our United States Navy with the United States Coast Guard and our United States Marine Corps form the world's premier maritime team. Now, as a submariner, I have no problems passing along the following. It's often said that the surface Navy only does 3 things. They go to sea, they drink coffee, and deploy Marines. Understandably then, sailors have a different view of Marines too. Take, for example, this story that Marine Corps Commandant General Mike Hagee told to the Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Mike Mullen during a flag officer conference many years ago. General Hagee, on the eve of his service selection at the Academy, which I'm told is a pretty big deal, called up his dad to tell him his decision. Now, General Hagee's dad was a Navy Chief Petty Officer. So when Hagee said, "Dad, I want to be a Marine," he was a little silent on the other side of the foot. General Hagee's dad spoke up. He said, "Son, don't you know all Marines do is guard gates and harass sailors?" Hagee argued back, saying, "Dad, that's not true. They don't guard gates anymore." In fact, if you pull back from the gate guarding, he's right. They don't. We sure do miss our Marine gate guards from the Marine barracks and subbase. Give you a little history. I think a few detachment members, Tom Peters included, were MPs at the base when the Marines were stationed there. They can confirm that Marines were a very important part of subbase's history and the centennial that we just celebrated in June 2016. Our nation's first permanent continental submarine base since 1916, subbase traces its roots as a naval installation just after the Civil War. It was then that the state of Connecticut gifted some 86 acres along the Thames River, and we've grown, as you remember, Tom said, 680 acres, to the Navy for the establishment of the naval facility. The installation was an underutilized yard, storage depot, and coaling station. In 1911, when the Marine Corps established a training school for officers at the site. Though the school brought fewer than 100 Marines to Groton, and only for the summer months, the New London Day reported the Navy Yard is on the map again because of the Marines. However, when the Naval Appropriations Bill reached Congress in February 1911, the yard was on the chopping block. Southeastern Connecticut's Congressman Edwin Higgins of Norwich was persuasive in having the yard removed from the bill. But shortly afterward, the Marine Corps School was transferred to Philadelphia in pursuit of Tun Tavern beer, I promise you. Soon a war would be raging in Europe. When the First World War escalated in 1914, the German Navy began demonstrating the impact of submarine warfare through their U-boat operations. On May 7, 1915, the British ocean liner RMS Lusitania was torpedoed by U-20, 13 miles off of Kinsale, Ireland. Lusitania sank in just 18 minutes, and on the end of the nearly 2,000 people aboard, more than half were killed, including more than 100 U.S. citizens. So it's no far stretch that in October of 1915, the first permanently home-ported submarines arrived at the underutilized naval yard, storage depot, and coaling station along the Thames River. In November of 1915, the first ship built, a submarine tender USS Fulton, arrived. And on June 21st, 1916, Commander Yates Sterling, Jr. was ordered to assume command of the newly designated submarine base, Naval Submarine Base New London, our nation's first permanent continental submarine base. Sterling was also ordered to establish the New London Submarine Flotilla and the Submarine School. With submarines proving their worth and value, Marines were soon dispatched to subbase to safeguard the Naval Ammunition Depot on the base, as well as all the vital buildings and areas. A detachment from Marine Barracks, Philadelphia arrived on November 6, 1917, and on May 1, 1919, the Marine detachment was designated Marine Barracks Submarine Base, New London. The barracks ebbed and flowed in size from 40 to 60 and all the way up to 100 Marines through the ensuing decades. Early accounts were that the duty at the base was pretty enjoyable. An article drafted by the Marine Barracks in the 1920s highlights the conditions at subbase were all that would be wished for, and notes that the barracks seldom had vacancies and no one wants to leave. Missions grew over time: perimeter security, gate guards, military highway patrol, decal inspections and issue, the brig, and ceremonial duties. In April 1979, Marines also expanded to manning lower base security posts. There were times when the Marine Barracks even operated their own exchange, mess hall, and club. And I bet some of the Marine veterans here may be able to testify that the club did pretty well. In fact, in 1981, it took in $250,000. Of course, the 1980s also saw the Marine Barracks and subbase at its higher manning numbers. Former Barracks Commanding Officer Major James Murray, Jr. would neither confirm nor deny a New London Day article from 1982 that the growth was due to a bizarre plot uncovered by the FBI. It seems, a few years earlier, there had been some sort of conspiracy to steal the submarine USS Trepang and to blow up the submarine tender Fulton. Marine Sergeant Arthur Purcell, then 22, put the situation in perspective. He said, I mean, who's going to steal a submarine? Purcell questioned as he pointed out that it would take 4 hours just to get the thing warmed up and drive it out of here. And some say the Marines know a good deal about such things. I've heard that when the Air Force wasn't looking, the Marines made off with their Eagle. When the Navy wasn't looking, the Marines took their anchor. And when the Almighty rested, you guys took the globe. So the Marines' Eagle, globe, and anchor remind us of what every Marine understands: the ability to conduct timely global operations from the air, sea, and land ensures America's enduring international presence. Marines will tell you that at the front door of any crisis and conflict, they possess the finesse, the training, and the tools to knock at the door diplomatically, pick the lock skillfully, or kick it in violently, whichever you desire. I've certainly developed a tremendous respect and admiration for Marines, who they are, and how they operate. Devil dogs and leathernecks, Marines are expeditionary, fast, tough, disciplined, innovative, fierce, honorable, courageous, committed, and uncompromising. Their illustrious history includes Tripoli, the Boxer Rebellion, Belleau Wood, Teruel, Khe Sanh, Hue, Iraq, and Afghanistan. They're the first to fight and always leading non-combat missions close to home, like the Toys for Tots program. Is there a greater example of the soft spot that every Marine has in his or her heart for the poor and the weak? While we celebrate tonight, Marines are deployed across the globe, serving as the finest fighting force the world has ever known. We remember them and their families, and we honor those Marines we have lost and who's made the ultimate sacrifice. So on behalf of the 6,500 active and reserve sailors, as well as some 1,500 Department of Defense and Department of the Navy civilians at our nation's first and finest submarine base, let me conclude by saying thank you for inviting an old salt, a Navy submariner like me, to this ball. Congratulations, Marine Corps, for 240 years of service and success. Semper Fidelis, and happy birthday. Thank you.
Guess what's going to happen now?
Somebody's in trouble.
And this time,
No garters.
I would like to transfer over to our Commandant, McMahon.
Thank you very much. Several years ago, I'm ashamed to have not known it earlier, I learned of a wonderful program called Quilts of Valor. And in learning about the program, it's a national program. I'll let the person invited tonight explain all of that. But I met a wonderful woman who's responsible for southeastern Connecticut and making sure that our veterans touched by war are remembered. And so we have two presentations this evening, and I am honored and privileged to introduce you Jan and Roberta from Quilts of Valor. And I can tell you, those receiving their quilts tonight don't know they're receiving their quilts tonight.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to use the mic. I don't actually have to. I'm a mom, and I used to be a teacher and a social worker, and I'm a grandma now, so I really can make my voice project, but I'll use it. I thought this was interesting when I got this call, and I heard that I was going to a Marine Corps ball and presenting 2 quilts to non-Marines. So I thought, well, okay, we give about anywhere. So far, Quilts of Valor has given out awarded 147,000 quilts. I have a group called Stitch Chicks Quilts of Valor group. We're out of Franklin. Our group has given out 145 this year. I think the ladies think I'm a little bit tough, so maybe I could have been a Marine. But what was interesting is when I was thinking about the 3 different groups is when I was in high school, Pete Olson was my guidance counselor. I never knew he was a Marine, but when I found out and we gave him a quilt, it all made sense. Because it was 1972, the guys were growing their hair long, us girls were experimenting with hip huggers and etc. And he would stand on the front steps and say, you need to get a haircut, or pull those pants up, or button up that shirt. It took 45 years for me to figure out what that was all about. He wasn't just being a hard ass, sorry. So he was a Marine, and so it came full circle, and I realized that. But graduating at that time was pretty nice for a girl in southeastern Connecticut, because we could go to the Navy base, and there was plenty of guys to have a beer with, or to flirt with, and wave at. And we could go to the base, and we could wave at all those Marines that were guarding that front gate. And even better, on Swab Summer, we could go over to the academy, and we could do dance lessons over there, the new guys. So it was a great time to be an 18-year-old in southeastern Connecticut back then. So Quilts of Valor, let me get back to that. Quilts of Valor started about 13 years ago. A mom sent her son off to Iraq, very worried about what was going to happen to him, whether he'd come back and how he would come back, physically or mentally. Her way to handle stress was to sew, so she sat down and made a patriotic quilt. She took it to Bethesda, had it blessed by the chaplain, and he gave it to another young man who had come back injured from Iraq. That went over so well, he asked her to start making more. From that time to now, it was just ladies who say, come and help me, let's make a few more. That's what happened with us. Our group started with just a few of us, 6 of us, I think. There's now somewhere between 60 and 75 ladies sewing at any given time. One thing that when you get a Quilt of Valor, we award them. We don't just give them out. They can't be, hang on, sorry. But when they're given out, they get a letter that goes with it, and it will tell every recipient who is awarded a Quilt of Valor who made your quilt. They travel all over southeastern Connecticut to be made. Sometimes this one actually was sewn in Salem. It came back to Franklin to be quilted, or Lebanon to be quilted, then it went to Franklin to get the edging put on. Somebody else made the pillowcase. Each one gets a case. We don't want you to put them in the case. We want you to take them out and use them. You can put them on your wall if you want, but we actually would like to see you use them. Everyone can actually. No, I'm not really holding that. Sorry. He's a bossy guy. So the first one, if I could have, let me see, make sure I say this right. All right, Captain White's Carver, could I have you up here? Sir? All right. This one, yeah, you get to come right out front. Okay. No mic. So this is the one that was made, one of our ladies, actually, we had a challenge to make panel quilts, they're called. And this one actually has some anchors in it, you'll see, so it's particularly for you.
Oh, wow.
If we can get it right, okay, all right. You can just stand there, you don't have to do a thing, sir. All right? And the way that we award these is when you receive one of these, you have to be wrapped in the quilt. So, right over here. Oh, don't sit down. You gotta stand up. And we wrap this to signify, we're wrapping you with support and gratitude for your service. Very often we give these to veterans and a few active duty personnel. So I'm glad that we able to do that. So thank you very much for your service. All right, Captain LeBrecq, come on up. This is what's happening when you're a guest. You're there too. Okay. This quote was actually made by this lady sitting next to me, Danielle. One thing that when we make these quilts, anybody who's a quilter will understand that we take perfectly good fabric, chop it up into little pieces, and then put it back together. This one in particular, all of these, Danielle's a perfectionist in her sewing, so you'll find no mistakes, I'm sure. So, right? So thank you.
Go to sleep.
Don't get too comfortable then. There you go. Sure. All right. We'll just
Oh, this is great.
come on over this way.
Wanna get in?
Don't go in. You guys want to switch over here? There you go.
Folks, the Three Rivers Young Marines are holding their first annual free pancake breakfast for all veterans, and Friday night at 6 p.m. at the KFC, free veterans dinner. That's their 9th annual, but that's just their way of saying thank you and serving veterans. Show up with an appetite and a smile, and you get fed. So thank you. So now, Tom Peters, we have some raffling to do, and some benedictions to do, and some cake cutting to do.
Thank you. Okay, hate to say this.
And this does become a part of the permanent record of the state of Connecticut. But before I say that, you know, my dad was in the Navy, and he was in World War II. And we would sit around the table at home, and he would start telling stories about his comrades. And when he told them, he would start laughing to the point where he would start to actually cry. We couldn't even hear the end of the story. And we would laugh with him just because he was laughing. But there were stories that he never told us. And I know that there's stories out there that your families have never told you. And I know that it's a part of the service that you have given to our country. And I want to tell you how incredibly grateful I am, and everyone that I touch is, for what you have done for our country. And Marines are special. They really are. And, you know, I found out a little bit more about Marines, and one of the things I found out is, you know, in the beginning I said, so you were a Marine? Yeah, no. I am a Marine. Semper Fi. That's who I am. And that really, really touched me. So then I said to Dave Cargill, because I had met him at a groundbreaking, and I was like, what a great guy. And so we have, you know, formed sort of an alliance working together. And when he said, would you like to do this? I said, are you kidding? I would totally like to do this. But being a team player, I put it out to the legislature. I'm doing a citation for the birthday of the Marine Corps and the Thames Valley League. And guess what? Every single legislator in southeastern Connecticut said, can I be a part of that? So it's not just me who introduced this citation into the permanent record of the state of Connecticut. It's every one of your legislators in southeastern Connecticut that wanted to be a part of it. So with that, I'm not going to read who it was introduced by, except me. Okay, wait. Me and a whole list of other legislators introduced by us, be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly offers its sincerest congratulations to the Thames River Detachment Marine Corps League number 1334 in recognition of the 241st birthday of the Marine Corps, founded in Philadelphia in 1775 by the First Continental Congress at Tun Tavern. And now I know a little bit more about Tun Tavern. Yes, and you know what? I am totally down with that. Their mission, and you know, this is what was so cool. Their mission began, and I'm not sure my dad was as happy about this, but their mission began in the rigging of the Navy ships as sharpshooters. That really was like totally cool to me. So we needed you guys in the rigging, and the Navy had to actually admit that. And continues today across the world, and certainly across our nation, as an elite military faction. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. And it's signed by the Speaker of the House, the President pro tempore of the Senate, and the Secretary of State. I should know that. Denise is one of my buddies, but yes, Denise Merrill. And as I said, it becomes a permanent record of the state of Connecticut. And I could not be more honored than to be here with you guys today. Thank you.
Oh, the spirit is here. No, we won't fight. Well, on behalf of all the members of the Thames River Detachment and the charter members here, I am not one. I didn't know about it when they formed in 2009. I'm glad they did. And so at this point, I know they're in the program, but this is for all of you. So if you're a charter member of this fine detachment, please stand up.
If you can.
Thank you very much.
Will Chaplain Cargill please come up for the benediction?
As to your religious preference, our celebration has ended, and now we go forth. May our words be gentle, our touch be kind, and in going may we be blessed with good things on this day and forevermore. Amen and Semper Fi.
The New London County Commandant to come up and do the honors. Marie Montminy. The oldest Marine go to the cake table. I wonder who that could be, Don Porter. And the youngest Marine, Matt Swanson. You know, Matt, you're going to end up looking like Don.
Yes, you do.
Give him the right end. Yeah.
You know why I didn't get up there with that sword?
Yeah, we saw what happened last year when we did
Stay right there. Go this way. Ready? We're waiting for the instructions.
Okay, the oldest Marine will give the cake to the youngest Marine. And
Right. And then Matt's got to help look up the next piece. Now.
And now, I'm waiting for the cake, I'm hungry. No, Don, you give it to somebody else. Yes, the youngest to the oldest. Okay, and return. Yes.
Go eat your cake.